We are live. Welcome back to SpaceLink TV. Today we're gonna have a look on Mars and the Moon and some of all those beautiful, great images posted on SpaceLink TV on Facebook, on the Marsmoonspace group in Facebook. And I'm gonna say this, it's gonna be interesting. But before we start, I wanna show you this. I am so happy, and so is my wife, Dolly Indigo Star. And if you hear her in the background and hear some noise in the background, it's because she's working hard on her next big success. I will recommend you to go in on Dolly Indigo Star 33 on TikTok and see her videos there. The last video she put up 2 days ago have reached 400. How many videos did you reach? 480,000 views?
450, but the name's been hashtag 790k.
Did you hear that, guy? 450,000 views in 2 days. Go in and check Dolly Indigo Star 33 out on TikTok. I'm gonna take you to SpaceLink TV on Facebook, because we have a page there where we post all our findings and pictures and all the great stuff. Go in there and find it. And today I want to look at some of the pictures posted in here, because we have a great big collection of pictures. We have thousands of pictures from Mars and the Moon, not just our own pictures but other people's pictures also posted in the group. Let's have a look at some of them, and here is one of them from the Perseverance rover. And I remember this one because if you look at the top, the one pointed out on the top, you can see clearly there is some kind of symmetry in it. There's like 3 holes in it, and there is like a doorway hole in the bottom. It's not a doorway, and this object is no more than 10-15 centimeters tall, so it's a tiny object, but the symmetric in it makes it stands out. And wondering how is that possible. It looks artificial. It looks kind of like carved with precision, and it has these perfect angles on both sides and the corners on top. If you look up here, it's great. We are live, so feel free to comment on the pictures in the comment box here on YouTube. We have our live chat going, and we will be happy to comment and talk to you about it while we are live. You have another interesting little feature in the bottom of this picture, and it looks odd because this is not a rock. A rock wouldn't have a shape like that. It looks like something that has been artificially created, like a part of a cradle or something else. It doesn't look like a rock when you look at it like that. It's an interesting picture. You can find it on SpaceLink TV's page on Facebook. There are some other good pictures here as well. I call it the fish because it looks like a fish. It ain't a fish. There's no doubt about it. It ain't a fish. It's a rock. But in this case, it does look very much like a fish, and the head of a fish and a mouse with eyes. And the question is there something that's carved there to look like a fish? Or what are we looking at? A good picture from what's it, Curiosity rover, yeah. It's an older one. Here's a Perseverance rover image, also posted on social media. And I remember this one because looking at it, it doesn't look like a normal rock. If you look on the side, you can see the edge is straight, perfectly straight. And it looks like it's round and a cone shaped, just like when you see a dish, a mini satellite dish for a TV or something like that. It stands out from the rest of the rocks. It doesn't look like what you see in the area around it, and I'm not sure that this is a rock. I think that could be something else. Have in mind that whatever it is, it's been up there for maybe thousands of years, and you will probably have the same colors as the sand around it after all that time. So if this had let's say it was red or blue, you wouldn't have a chance to see the original color of an object that has been lying in a desert with sandstorms for thousands of years. That would be impossible. Just look at a car that has been standing in a forest for, we have found some of them car parks in America where cars has been left for 40 years and you couldn't even recognize the car, and that's just for a few amount of years. Then imagine a thousand years what objects would look like. So I think this is what we are looking at. We are looking at something that was left there that's now looks like its surroundings because it's been in this environment for so long time. But Perseverance rover, that's a great picture. I like this one. That's an orbiter picture from Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter. And I like this shape of that square hole. It's not perfectly square, but it's close, and the size of it 200 meters long, which would be about 600 feet. Makes me think, how is it possible to create an edge that long, almost straight, perfect? If you look at the bottom end of opposite of where the arrow is, you see a almost perfectly straight line as well. Is that a natural creation, or what are we looking at? Personally, I'm thinking of some of the times we've been exploring Dartmoor. We have an area called Lee Mill, where there's a clay quarry up, and they have these giant pits where they have been digging, and some of them are the same size as you see here on this orbiter picture. They do have sometimes different shapes, though they're not square, but this is what I would be thinking of automatically when I see it on a satellite image like this. And this picture is taken from something like 280, 300 kilometers away with a high resolution camera. And I do believe I remember that everything below 30 centimeters is not visible in the pixels when you zoom in on it on the JP2 image. So you can see a human standing there, you can see a dog, you might be able to see a dot, if a tiny dot on the screen if you see something like a big cow or an elephant or something like that, but anything else like that wouldn't even be visible to recognize. Look at the size of that hole, it's 200 meters. How would you see a person standing on the edge? You wouldn't. He would be smaller than 1 pixel. So have in mind what you can see on orbiter images is constructions. You can see industrial size constructions, like industrial factory size, I would call it. That would be visible and that would be recognizable again. And this is what I'm personally I'm looking for. I'm looking for geometry that reveals intelligence, not natural creation of the area, if you can say it like that. But yeah, that's a really good orbiter image we have going here from the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter. I like the orbiter images, they are my favorites. Mars Perseverance rover. Another image that caught my attention, because if you look in the little zoom box, it seems like there is a square cut in the rock on the edge with another square cut on the bottom. And personally, I think that's because something has been standing there, like if we place a pylon or a statue or something else, we create the surface it stands on as a square or a circle. And to make sure that this object we put on top won't tip over, we create another little hole in the bottom as a control hole where the statue or whatever is placed on top is attached to, so it don't tip over. It's a pretty simple technology, and I think that is what we're looking at here, because we got two square holes on this rock at the end, which to me tells it's intelligent, carved, created. It makes you wonder, yeah. And feel free to comment in the comment box here on YouTube. We are live. We got the live chat going. And if you can hear my wife in the background, Dolly Indigo Star, is because she's very excited and she is very, very happy right now. So that's good. We got a Perseverance picture again, and this one caught my attention because that little black thing I have pointed out in the circle looks like it has some, I wouldn't be using the words antennas, I would more think about sticks or armor you use to reinforce concrete with poking out of it. It's clear to see, there's no doubt that there's something poking out of it. There's three different, I would call it reinforcement armor poking out of it, and it doesn't look natural to me in any kind of way. So what are we looking at here? Is it something that is just a rock, or is it something from an ancient civilization we're looking at here that has been in these surroundings and environment for hundreds of thousands of years? Here's another good Perseverance shot, one of the early day shots of Perseverance. If you look at the top circle, it looks like there is a round hole, and it looks like it's a pipe coming out of the rock. It looks perfectly round, and it did caught my attention right away. If you look underneath it, it's like there are some small blocks, and they are all square cut blocks. It looks suspicious to me, and I think that deserves some more attention. You got the rock below pointed out also, showing like there is a square cut in the rock, and this odd shaped rock, it looks like something is not right about it, and I cannot say what it is, and I think you'll see the same when you're looking at it. Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, and I remember finding this one. There's a square block container sized object, and I remember measuring it to be about 6 meters long, 6 to 7 meters long, and 2 to 2.5 meters wide, which would make it exactly the same size as a shipping container. It's an interesting find, and it reflects the sun like nothing else in the surrounding does, so it definitely stands out. Definitely. And I remember finding lots of these container-sized objects on several orbiter images. Here's a picture that I also went over yesterday from Crook's crater on the moon. It's really interesting, and as I said in the live stream yesterday, these blocks down here looks too perfectly carved to be natural created. We know that Crook's crater is 48 kilometers wide, which would be 30 miles. So when we look at these blocks in here, we can figure out that they've got to be 100 meters or 200 meters even, maybe, in each direction. And this is what I said before. That's what I call factory-sized anomalies, factory-sized features on the surface that stands out. And this is in the crater on the moon. So guys, let me know what you think about this picture from Apollo 11. Are we looking at something from an ancient civilization on the moon, or even maybe a present one on the moon? The opportunity is there, possibility is there for sure, and the more I look at this picture, the more I see every time. There is a little bit of symmetry to it if you look on the sides also. Could this be something else than just rocks created from the impact? I think to me it looks too suspicious or too much straight cut all the way around. If you look down in the middle where my arrow is and keep looking at it, the more you look at it, the more you see, the clearer it gets. It's like a magical moment you have, because your eyes need to adapt to what you see, and as soon as you have adapted your eyes to what you're looking at, you see it's so much clearer. And this is an amazing picture, and I do believe definitely that something is on the moon. Here's another rendering of the same image. It's from the same satellite image, and we're looking at the same picture, just zoomed out a little bit. And again, yeah, it does look factory sized, what we are looking at here. And to me personally, I don't have any doubts about life on the moon or on Mars, but can we prove it? I'm trying to show you what I'm seeing in these Apollo 11 orbiter photos, to tell what I think about it, and what I believe. Can I convince you that there is life on the moon with these pictures? That would be great if I could. That would be a mission complete, because the purpose of showing these things is to make people aware of that there is something out there we're not being told about. I know there's something out there. I've seen something out there lots of time. That's why I'm an anomaly hunter. And my biggest purpose right now is to deliver my knowledge and my beliefs to those that wants to believe. And I believe that we definitely have life on the moon and on Mars. And the more and more I look at this here, the more and more it becomes constructions with an infrastructure to it all. And it's simply amazing. I recommend you to go in on SpaceLink TV's page, find the picture in photos, and there should be a link with the post as well to the Apollo 11 orbiter image. And there's an old Curiosity image, and it's just the way this rock is on the surface. It looks like molded lava or molded rock, and if you look at the rocks around it, there's none of the other rocks that really looks like that in the same color and shape. So this single rock stands out from its surroundings. So what could we be looking at? It looks like, if you look at the top of the rock, like it's a shell, and at the bottom like a shell with something inside of it. And that is what makes me wonder. I might have put the circle a little bit wrong on here, because we can't see the bottom line clear. I think I must have been in a hurry that day, but it definitely looks like something that reminds me of a coffin with something lying inside of it. I'm not saying it's a life form inside of it or anything, but something is definitely in there, and we are looking at a container of some kind. And again, this is tiny stuff. This is no longer than 20-25 centimeters long from top to bottom. So it's not big objects, but you can definitely see that it is an object. You just can't see what it is. And another great shot from Curiosity shows us a perfectly carved rock. Or does it? Look in the middle of the screen. This one here got 3 perfect 90-degree angles in that corner, and you can see the bottom corner has a perfect 90-degree angle as well. And this is where it gets weird, because then the rock starts to become blurry and that's a little bit weird because you can see the edge clear on the top, you can see the edge clear on the side, but you can't see the edge clear on the bottom. It's like somebody had blurred it out. So I'm asking the question, could something has been on here that we are not supposed to see? It's clear to see that something has been wiped out, because this rock is totally clean, and it's the only clean side you can see in the whole image. And how can that be? Because somebody wiped it out, blurred it out. So something is definitely going on here, and the rock in itself is rectangularly shaped with perfectly 90-degree angles. I don't believe in coincidence like that. I believe that sometimes we can see natural 90-degree angles on rocks, but on all corners, like perfectly, it would like be saying like the blocks that the pyramid was built of were all natural created, and they haven't been shaped by humans before they used it. It's just a natural coincidence. No, it's not. This is definitely artificial carved. And what was on the end here, since somebody had to blur it out, because it's definitely blurred out. What do you guys think out there? Leave me a comment in the comment box on YouTube. We are live, so use the live chat and let's get a chat going about it. We got hundreds of pictures to talk about. We got a curiosity image again, 1448, and again perfectly carved 90-degree angles. I think this is amazing to find blocks like this, because I've worked in a building supply company as a manager for 5 years, selling concrete blocks, wood, everything you need, tools to build a house with, everything. You could even rent the machines to do it with, everything. And we had what we call an elephant foot, which is basically a cone-shaped square, a concrete block with a little hook on top or an eye on top to attach a rope in or whatever you need, and you could use it as an anchor as well. And this is exactly what it looks like to me, one of them elephant foots that you can buy in concrete if you're building a house or needs whatever you need it for. It's quite amazing to see an object like that so clearly reminds you of some of that those products you actually have been selling in a store before you earlier in your life. It's quite cool actually. So to me, there's no doubt, again, we're looking at an artificially created and carved object, and it is very close to be perfectly carved as well. Look at the sides on it. There is it's clear, it's clean. You can see a few ridges, but it's surface clean. That's amazing to look at. And NASA says there's nothing up there. Look at the background of the picture. Look at these rocks. They all look suspicious. It doesn't look like rocks. It looks more like a long pole or something of some kind of material, or no material is lying there. It doesn't look anyway like a kind of a rock. But hey, that's Mars, and we are trying to dig into what's natural, what's not. And again, speaking of them blocks, perfectly timing, perfectly square cuts all the way around. And again, as I said before, I worked for 5 years as a manager in a building supply store, and we sold everything from concrete, tiles, to roof, wood, the hammer you need, everything. And we had concrete blocks like that also you could get. It does look like a concrete block, perfectly carved and shaped, or rock even. Rock carved and shaped. It's so perfectly done. How there can't be any doubt that this is a part of a construction we're looking at. You can even see, if you look closer, it looks like all these symbols on the end of it. I'm not saying it could be pixels, but again, if you look before it's enlarged, you can still see all them symbols, signs, or whatever it is, while there's nothing on any of the other rocks. So I don't think it's pixelations, and not in the magnified version either. It's a very, very interesting picture from Mars. To me, this proves we have life on Mars. Definitely yes. And this is definitely artificial created object we are looking at, that's been part of a construction and somehow is ended up there from whatever destroyed what it was a part of. If it was an explosion or there was earthquake or whatever could have happened, it ended where it ended. And it's amazing to see a picture of an artificial created object on planet Mars, and NASA has brought it to us. Even though they would never admit it, they will say it's just a coincidence. But as I just showed you 3 times in a row, let's just go 3 pictures back. 2 pictures back, 2. You got the other one here. Didn't we have another one before? I think we had another one just before, but there's 1 there, and 2 there, 3 there, and I think there is some more coming. We have the profile picture as well also. Another Curiosity rover image, and this one made us laugh. I remember me and Dolly Indigo Star found this, and it looks like it's a surveillance camera on the side of the wall. The size of it, it's in the distance of the picture. The size of it is about 20 centimeters to 30 centimeters, which would be about a foot. So when we joked and said it looks like a security camera, we actually looked twice again and said, whoa, yeah, it actually does. When I'm saying it looks like a security camera, it's not like saying I believe it's a security camera, because I wouldn't have a clue of what I'm looking at. I can only tell you what I'm seeing and what my brain would be saying. And that reminds me of a security camera with lenses on and holes on, and it even looks like it's hanging on a gimbal of some kind. It looks pretty advanced, to be honest. But let me know, guys, what you think about this picture. That's from MSL2633. Leave a comment in the comment box here in our live chat and tell me if you like what you're seeing. Do you think we are looking at artificial objects on planet Mars? I think we are. I definitely think we are, and that's why I keep on searching for more and more and more. I remember this one. That was Dolly and I who was on Gigapan one day, and we found this. If you look, it's pretty amazing. As I said before, the longer you look at it and adjust your eyes to it, the more you see in it. And what we see in it is a construction. You got a whole wall here, a straight wall that goes down like a little pathway, a passage with another wall. We can't see the side of the other wall, but it looks like same material as this, so you could only expect that it would look similar to this one, which would makes a little alleyway down here. It's pretty amazing, and we never thought it would be, because you can see this wall is built by rocks stacked on top of each other, small rocks. So this is an artificial created wall, and it's built perfectly in alignment with the other wall, big enough to you can pass through it or walk through it. And I do remember that this is a bit up in the distance of this picture, so the size is not accurate, but I would say the distance between this wall and this wall would be a meter, which would make this wall about 1.5 to 2 meters tall, which would be a little bit taller than I am. I'm 175. But again, the size is not accurate, and I could be very wrong, but I think that's about what we're looking at. An artificial created wall. You can even see it, as I said before, the stones here stacked on top of each other. You got a roof block here in one piece going from that artificially created wall to the other side. You can see it is in one piece. You can even see there is a tiny little layer on top of some white stuff, like you can see it's the same as you got here. It's a big block, it's a big rock in one piece that's laying on top and creating a roof. You got a whole room here full up with sand. Now I could ask the question, do you guys believe that this is real sand or it's just added so we can see what's in this construction? Because this is what we are looking at. We are looking at a construction. You can see the wall. I can find buildings in Petra, Jordans. Me and my wife has looked at Jordan pictures for a long time. We can find exactly the same in Petra and Jordan. Old constructions with similar walls built up by blocks, smaller rocks cemented together with plaster. And I think I don't understand, to be honest, why pictures like this haven't made the news, because it's so clear to see. Would you guys out there agree with me that this is clear to see this is an artificial created construction? So please leave me a comment in the live chat here on YouTube and tell me what you think about it. As I said before, the longer you look at it, the more you see. We have been looking at this one and this beautiful wall here, a little pathway. But what about here? Again, you got a square-like frame of rocks. This is not a block of rock. This is hundreds of rocks stacked on top of each other to create a corner. This is amazing. And if you look down here, and again, the bottom of the picture, you can see like there's a round well, something like there's a round something made of rock. Is it just a coincidence? Or are we looking at an ancient civilization here, ancient constructions? I think this is an amazing picture, and I can look at it for hours and hours and hours. It's another good one from Curiosity MSL. All these pictures you have seen now, you can find them on SpaceLink TV's page on Facebook. Come on there and give us a like and a follow in there also, and you will get posts like this almost every day from us. This is an interesting object, and I remember bringing this one up before. It's an old one. It's from Curiosity. What are we looking at? Because it looks like a wing stretching out from the object on the ground, and the object on the ground have a little bit darker color to it than the surrounding rocks, and that makes it stand out. Look at that thing here on the left side. It's big and it's stretching out in the air. You can see underneath it, where between this what looks like a wing and the soil. It takes some, how do you say it, if you want to build something like this, it takes some technology to make material that's strong enough to maybe, if this was a whole rock, stretch it out like this for thousands of years. This would have been broken off doing erosions that time it's been up there. If it's just a rock, it wouldn't be looking like that. You can look at the surroundings everywhere on Mars, and you don't see rocks having like arms stretching out or panels stretching out like that, unless it's reinforced to hold the weight or the position of it. And I think it's a pretty good image, and it does look like I'm just getting a kiss here from my beautiful wife. Thank you. It looks like it's something on the ground that's not part of it, and that's why I think we have this partial color difference from the rocks underneath it and the actual object we are looking at. If you look in the middle of the object, it looks like you can see a dark line here. It looks like a tiny gap between whatever the bottom is and the top is created of, or if it's the same object. If it's the same object and there is a gap in it, then it would have to be constructed in some kind of way, because it definitely looks like there is a gap in the middle. And how is it possible for it to keep this object on the side hanging in this position? It is a strange one. Are we looking at something that fell from the sky and it's actually made of an unknown compound or material that we don't know of? Is it some kind of downed craft we're looking at on Mars? I believe it definitely looks metallic to me. It doesn't look like the rock, as I said before. But let me know, guys, what you think we are looking at. Are we looking at just a rock, or is it something else we are looking at? Feel free to comment in the live chat on YouTube. We are live, so feel free to participate and give me your thoughts on what we are looking at. This is an awesome one. Dolly Indigo Star found this one. That's a sphere-shaped, transparent object caught on Curiosity's camera. Yeah, and Dolly is coughing in the background as she is enjoying her success and have on TikTok and have a flu at the same time. And now it's being talked about on SpaceLink Tv live stream. It's a great one. I love this one. I wish it was me who found it. I wish. But it's a good one. Just look at it. Do I need to say anything else? The longer you look at it, the clearer it gets. It's like a bubble, a sphere-shaped bubble that's transparent and somehow, some way reflect the sunlight as well. Also, that is not a rock, absolutely not a rock. So what could we be looking at here in this great image from Curiosity?
It reminds me of a light craft.
Of a light craft, Dolly says.
A light sphere.
Yeah, a light sphere.
We see them all over the earth.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do.
They're similar, or an orb.
Yeah, and saying light sphere or orbs. Remember we spoke about TikTok UFOs the other day?
We did.
Yeah. So, is that what we're looking at in an actual captured TikTok? I was about TikTok UFO.
It's a light phenomena.
Light phenomena.
It's a light anomaly phenomena.
Yeah.
Because it's something that's took a shape.
Yeah.
And it's shiny.
It's shiny.
And I'm sure they're not blowing bubbles on Mars.
Yeah. It's not a soap bubble.
No.
And you can see it's transparent. You can see a little bit of rock behind it in the middle of the little sphere. That's a great picture. And if you go into our page on Facebook and find the picture, you can see there is a link on the side, so you can zoom in on it yourself and have a go at it. See what you can see in the area as well. It's an interesting area, and I remember that Gigapan. We found lots of anomalies in it. I can only recommend it. Go in and have a look at it. Awesome picture. Here again. Here's another great one. I love this one. I really love this one. NASA says it's all just rocks and formations. Yeah. It is rocks and it is formation. NASA is absolutely right. The thing is, what we're looking at is created with rocks, shaped with rocks, constructed with rocks, molded together with rocks. How did they do it? You can clearly see on the magnified version, you have halfway U-shaped form on top that looks like square edges, square sides, almost close to 90-degree angles on it, and it's lifted up in the ground. It's like stuck on a holding position. Look at it underneath as well. It's like there is a block that has a smooth surface underneath, like a kind of a table. It reminds me of a cradle for work where you can actually put either a drill in on top or or you can put a magnifying glass in, and one of them cradles you can lift up and down and control an instrument, like I said, a drill or a magnifier, and get close to the object you have on the little plate on the bottom. It's a special object we are looking at here, and again, the size of it, it's not big. That big rock we are looking at, this is on top of that mount we're looking at on the gigapan, so it's up in the distance. So this rock we are looking at here would be maybe 1.5 meters. So this object here would be less than 1 meter tall. So it is a physical object, and it does have a mass to it and a size to it, but it's not like a giant object we're looking at. It's just a small object, but it definitely looks like it's designed to hold something in its place where it is. I think it's an amazing picture. I do not know who found this picture first, because I've seen it hundreds and hundreds of times. This came out on Curiosity's day number 1441, and there's 365 days in a year, so you can figure out it's about its third or fourth year, fifth year in, and it's been on Mars for over 12 years now. So it's an old picture, and it's been up many times, and we posted it in 2019, and it's probably been like 6 years old at that time. So many people have posted this one, and we choose to bring it, our version of it as well, because objects like this needs to be seen, it needs to be shared, it needs to be looked at by people to understand that there is more to what we look at than we have been told all the way through from NASA. I do believe that we are looking at an ancient civilization on Mars, but I also believe that they choose the areas for Spirit, Opportunity, Curiosity, and Perseverance rover. They choose the area to be in the desolated areas. Like if we were on Mars and would send a probe to Earth, and we didn't want to show our Martian friends life on Earth, but we just want to make them think we are doing research, we would send a rover to Sahara. And when we have been in Sahara for 2 years and driving through it, we probably would see an old fort in the distance somewhere after a long time. And I think this is what we're looking at here. We are looking at something in a desolated area where you have specific small areas where there still is evidence of ancient civilization, or maybe even present. But these areas are so small compared to the size of the area the rovers are in, so we need to be extremely lucky to get pictures like this. We don't get them every day, but it definitely shows us something that has geometry to it. It also has a structure to it that's designed to hold this top object in place. And if you look at all the other rocks around it and the mount, you see big slabs that's broken off, that's lying twisted around and smashed into pieces. But this tiny little object has withstanded whatever destroyed all the object that was way bigger than this one here. Just think about that, guys. Why is it still standing when everything else is shattered to pieces around it? It's because it's made of a different compound than the rocks. And it's probably part of what was inside what to me looked like what would have been a square framed little construction or house or whatever, and it was hollow inside. I've talked about this so many times before in my other life. We're looking at a surface outside that's plastered that looks like rock. Behind it, it's built up with building blocks, square blocks, like we just looked at in the earlier pictures in this live stream. It's all building blocks. The outside is covered up with rocks and plaster, and you would never ever see it unless you see something like this, where you clearly can see the top is broken off. It has a square frame in the corner. It's almost perfectly 90-degree angle, and it looks like that this is actually a wall with a structure outside that makes it look, or makes you believe it's a rock we are looking at, but it's a construction we're looking at. This little piece here was inside that construction when the rest of this construction you can see here blew off. So yeah, life on Mars, I do believe in it. Absolute yes. Do you guys believe in Mars, life on Mars? Let me know in the live chat here on YouTube. Tell me what you think. Do we have life on Mars? I do believe we have, and I do believe that we are looking at the leftovers or the ancient remains of what once was here. Great picture from Curiosity. And we got a few pictures. I'm gonna skip through here so we can get to our Mars. We have a lot of pictures on that has been posted. See, I chose the folder with all posted pictures in, so I get everything. Another great Curiosity shot. Look inside that tiny little cave, I would almost call it, underneath. Look at the rocks. How come there be a rock underneath a big giant rock that's perfectly carved, perfectly 90-degree angle, smooth surface? You can see this part is probably broke off, but you can see again smooth surface on both sides. There's a 90-degree angle to the two sides here, and that's a 90-degree angle in the bottom as well. The question is, if it's a natural creation, how is it possible when it's lying underneath another rock? It's not a natural creation. And as I said before, I believe we have an area where everything is shattered around from something like a giant explosion or disaster that has happened or took it all to pieces. I don't think we are looking at an earthquake or something like that. I think we're looking at something else, because some of the rocks can clearly see they are molded and they look like they're molded on top. Not in these pictures, but in some of the other pictures. It's clear to see. You have other rocks over here. You can see that looks pretty square in shape. If you look at this, it looks like it's all put together to create a wall or construction, and this probably was standing upright and just tipped over to the left, as you can see, like a whole wall. I believe we have so much up there that will come out within the next few years. Another great shot from Curiosity. We're talking about 90-degree angles. I was talking about symbols and writings and inscriptions before. This one seems too perfectly with the lines on it to be something that's just cut up, broke off. That's not broke off of something. That's some kind of inscriptions that's on it. If you look at the hieroglyphs from Egypt and the way they are lined up from the you read them from the bottom back and up, it's like two columns of symbols, just like when you see, we went to Egypt and we went into many of the tombs, and they're like hundreds of columns of hieroglyphs next to each other lined up, and it looks like you got two columns or rows of something that looks like inscriptions that barely can be seen, but I do recognize this one down here looks a little bit like an ankh as well, and it does make me wonder, are they actual inscriptions that we're looking at, or is it just a coincidence? And here's one of my favorites, ruins on Mars. I remember I took that one with me to the Mars conference in Alabama and showed it there. That was an amazing find, and I think that this picture deserves a lot of attention. In the middle you can see it enlarged, but the middle picture is from one of Neville Thompson's even higher resolution, and the background picture is from the original PIA 16700, not a gigaband but panorama, you can find on NASA's homepage, photojournal. So the picture you're looking at in the middle is one of the highest possible resolutions you can get of the area, and when you go in and look even closer on it, you can see these square holes in the wall. You can see the small bricks used to build the wall with. You can see them piled together, just like you would build a normal little wall. The construction you're looking at, and I call it a construction because I call it what it is about 1 meter in each way. So again, it's not a big sized object, but what if that 1 meter each way basically was a foundation for putting concrete in to hold something bigger on top, or being a platform for something else. I don't think it was a toilet, to be honest, but it could have been anything. And because it's only a meter times a meter, which would be 3.5 foot times 3.5 foot big, it's not necessarily a construction. It's part of something bigger than that we don't know what is. And it is an interesting area because I remember, and I think that picture comes in a second. It did not, but the cube on Mars, I'll show you that later. It will come up later. We got constructions on Mars again, and I remember this one is absolutely one of my favorites. David Gannett, our good friend David Gannett. If I could choose another dad and had to, I would choose David Gannett as my dad because I love David Gannett. He's a good man. He does a lot of awesome work. This is the dome on Mars. And we actually went to Egypt, me and Dolly, and took pictures of a dome on the top of a mountain that looked exactly like this. I'm not sure that is in this collection, but I did make a video a few weeks ago about exactly the same dome, and it looks exactly like the picture David Gannett have from Mars, from the Opportunity rover. And it's so amazing to see the comparison with the picture from Egypt, from the desert and the mountain up there, where you see exactly the same as you see on this picture. Great one from David Gannett, and this one definitely deserves attention also. I do believe I remember it to be about, in the distance, about 15 meters, 12 to 15 meters in diameter. It's far away in the distance, it's not close, so it's a bigger object we're looking at. And again, this is where it becomes amazing, because when we look at objects close to us, and as I said before, they are tiny objects, they're not big. That means that when we see something like this in the distance that is so clear as it is here, and is 10 to 15 meters in diameter, that means it's because it's clear. It's a big object, big enough to get a clear picture of it. So the further away you get, normally you say, the blurrier, the bad, the worse the quality would get, and you will have a hard time zooming in on it, get a good picture. This is a construction you see in the background. This is not a rock that randomly looks like something that you could, with a little bit of a brain fart, could make look like something else. This is a construction, guys, and that's why it is so crystal clear on this picture. It's so far away and you see it clear. We have pictures of things very close that we still doubt because we can't see it clear. Here it's the opposite. It's in the distance and it's clear. And it's because it's an object and it's there. Thank you to David Gannett for this one. David is on Mars X 3D on Facebook. He have a group, Mars X 3D on Facebook. Go in and have a look at David's post in there. He does an amazing job with his Mars images. Wood on Mars. We have spoke about it before. Was there a civilization that used materials like wood, like we carve wood to cut trees down and make railway bars and so on? I believe so, and this picture shows us something that NASA has called a rock, kind of a slate of a kind. To me, it looks more like a wood bar, like we use for railways, that's been laying outside and started to decay on top. It looks like a wood bar. What a railway bar? What else can I say? If it's a dog and smells like a dog, it's probably because it is a dog. If it looks like a railway bar and you feel that this is not a rock, it's probably because it's not a rock, it's something else. Wood on Mars. And one of my favorite images, satellite images, absolute one of my satellite images. It brings me back to William Whitecrow, which I'm gonna have a little speech about in a minute. This is taken from a distance of, what did I write, 266.8 kilometers. That's 166 miles, 167 miles away. This is a high resolution image. You can see the orbiter on the left side. I've added the orbiter so you can see it, which give us the clearest possible images of Mars ever. Or that is what we believe or think. But so far, we have access to the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter images are the most amazing and clearest images you can get. I have the JP2 tool to zoom in on it, and this is what I could get. Look at that track on Mars. That is clearly a track. I measured the width of it, and it's about, every little track is about 20 meters wide. So the length of this track is over a kilometer wide. So this is a huge track, and it just starts and it ends. So how could that be? How can that be? As I said, William Whitecrow. Those of you that know who William Whitecrow, no, let me start to tell who William Whitecrow is. William Mars Whitecrow was a shaman healer in his life, a shaman, and he is born on a military base, was raised on a military base, and served most of his life in the military. William got involved in secret projects, secret ops projects, and was on many of them top secret projects when he was in the military. He have told us, we have several interviews where he talked about some of the missions he's been on, and where he also revealed the information about how they could travel out of Earth's atmosphere and to other planets within 30 minutes with the technology that was thousands of years ahead of what we have in with planes and rockets and space travel and so ever. William has been open about it all his life, and William have never gained any benefit of his statement. He has never charged any money for his statement. He never ever in any kind of way tried to gain any success or attention with it, but he have always been wanted to talk to those who want to listen. And I've talked to him a few times. I have a few interviews with him. I recommend you go in on SpaceLink TV on YouTube and go into the search bar and type in William Whitecrow, and you'll find a few interviews with him. He's interesting. William claimed that he was on one of his missions, was sent to Mars for a mission up there. He didn't tell what the mission was about, but what he wanted to tell us was about the craft and the travel, and it took about 30 to 45 minutes to reach the destination. This craft was built with otherworldly technology and could reach close to the speed of light when it was out of Earth's atmosphere. So that was an amazing story, and he backed it up with a lot of evidence as well, and I think you can find that in some of the videos. William stated that this picture we were looking at, and that is why I came to William, was a convoy on Mars, like one of the ones that he's been on himself. And he explained it beautifully. I said, you can see the tracks, you can see the vehicles, and you can see it ending, because the mission was in a local area, about surveillance in a local area, and they have to be present in a local area for a certain amount of time and then be picked up again. And this is where they started and where they ended before they were picked up again and taken back. And they fulfilled their mission, whatever it is. But I suspect it was something about this area over here, because it looks so suspicious. William didn't say that this specific picture was from the mission he was on. He said it reminded him of the mission he was on, and the tracks you see is from the vehicles they have with them, or that's already there for their missions when they arrive. So that's a kind of an amazing story. The thing about William Whitecrow is that he revealed to us that he had some knowledge he wanted to share with us. He had something he never had told before that he had to get out before it was too late, and he wanted to share some of his biggest disclosure knowledge with us. So we set up an interview with him, and the only thing he said was he's never told it to anybody. He's never, not even his family knew about it, but he wanted to tell it to us because he wanted it out in time. And this is where it gets really, really sad and really, really strange. He told us that he just bought a new laptop because he couldn't work with his old laptop. He didn't trust it anymore, and he bought a new laptop because he wanted to give us that interview where he would tell us whatever it was he wanted to disclose, but it was something about foreign technology, technology out of this world, something about that. That's all we know. So he bought this computer so he could do this with us, for us. That's what he said, and I have that on our Skype, still on our text messages. I can prove the whole conversation. The day before the interview, no, the day we had the interview with William, he didn't show up, and he wasn't around. He was not on Skype. And I looked at his Facebook profile and saw that apparently he had committed suicide the day before he had our interview. And that was hours after he contacted us and said he had something he wanted to tell us and disclose to us that he hadn't disclosed before, something that was of importance for the disclosure community. Rest in peace. I'm almost shaking when I'm thinking back of it, because I don't believe he committed suicide. He just bought a new computer. The communication we had with people around him after he's dead was that those that came and found him find all the gates to the horses open. William have had horses, lots of horses, and all the horses were running around. The gates were open. It was kind of weird, and apparently he was found in his chair in somewhere in his house, dead, and they said it was a suicide, and I still don't know how suicide was performed, but I know that I don't believe that it was a suicide. Rest in peace, William Whitecrow. We will get it out. We will get it out, and we will find out what it was you wanted to tell us, and we will find it, because I believe you left us some clues before you were taken away from us. Rest in peace, William Whitecrow. Back to Mars. That was a little offspring. I almost got emotional there. Tools on Mars. Is it a kind of a tool we are looking at on Mars? I definitely don't think it's a natural creation. I remember my first thought was it looked like an eel or something, but it's not. Is it a kind of a tool? Artificial created object lying there with a 90-degree angle on it and a handle on it. It looks like it. It really, really looks like it. And I spoke about this before, fake sand on Mars. You look at this picture, you will see what I mean with fake sand on Mars. You got sand all over the picture, and you got sand. You got this rock here that looks like it has some interesting features to it that I would like to look at also on top here. But then this sand is suddenly covering the rock, and when you look into the edge of the sand, it's not sand. It's like a sheet, and you can see it clearly. So either this is a sheet that's sand color that lies on top here. You can see it so clearly when you go into the gigapan. Or it's fake sand that has been sprayed CGI'd over to cover up whatever is there. See, all this sand comes here, but look at the edges. This is truly amazing, and I don't have the gigapan link here. I would love to go in and go even closer, because you can see it's so clear. that the sand is not compact, it's floating in the air up along the rocks that we wanted to look at. Why is that, I ask? And you can even see that they have made it look like it's piled up in the middle and this is the top. But the edge, they failed on the edge. It's so clear to see that something is going on in this picture that they don't wanted us to see. It's so clear to see that the sand is covered over. The sand is added to the picture afterwards. And of course it makes us questioning how much else is added to it. Can we see through the sand? I've tried and I do see a few lines in the background underneath the sand, but I can't make anything out of it. They have, whatever was there has been covered over. Have a look at it on Facebook TV's page, and you get the link there as well to it when you find the post. And there's nothing to see here. That's just a skull on Mars, or what looks like a skull from Spirits, one of the second year of Spirits' presence on Mars. It does look like a skull. Yeah, nothing to see here. It's just a rock. Or is it? And again, one of my favorites. I had this one with me to the Mars Alabama conference also, where this picture is from. There's a square frame here, and again I used the word elephant foot for something heavy you need to put underneath something that's less heavy to keep it in place. That looks like a container to me, something to contain something that once was standing up and has tipped over and broken, and it's hollow inside. When you look at it next to it, you see this wall over here still standing. And this is what I said before when we looked at that amazing picture from the construction, where you can see a walkway between two walls that are smooth. This is the same we are looking at here. This is not actual rocks. This is some kind of plaster that's strong enough that you can put it up like a rock, like a wall. It's, you can see where's the rock in the background? There's none. That's because there is no rocks behind it. It's a wall we are looking at. People need to wake up and believe that it's just a broken off rock. It's clear to see this wall was covering the whole area before it went maybe all the way out of the picture. It's so obvious to see next to this completely square elephant foot that's tipped over here. That's containing something that right now is sand, but probably something else was in it. There's a lot of things going on. We need disclosure on this, guys. Please help me sharing it, sharing the videos, sharing the pictures. And again, one of my favorites, UFOs on Mars. I love it. I love it. That's the Jupiter 2 UFO presented by Brett Collins Shepard from the Mars Orbiter camera from the first Mars Global Surveyor satellite. That unfortunately ain't with us anymore for what I know, but that took brilliant pictures, not the same good resolutions as Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, but the difference was it took it from an angle, it didn't take it from straight up and down. So we're looking at it from an angle which gives us dimensions, which is every anomaly hunter's dreams. You give it more than one dimension, you give it 2 dimensions, and you can see size of the wall, and you can see the top side of the wall. You can see where it twists and turns. If you look from the top and down, like we do on satellite images from Google Earth or Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, you see the top of the roof. You don't see the wall carrying the roof. Here you see the wall and the top of the roof. Sorry, almost can't speak anymore. The Jupiter 2 UFO has been called, thank you Brett Collins Shepard, this is one of the best contributions ever to anomaly hunting on Mars. It's so clear to see there is something up there. And by saying that, I'm gonna make a little quote before we end this live stream. Because the famous quote from Mars, that Alalu landed on Mars. He landed on top of the hill to view over the lake. He stationaried his craft to make it permanent for it never to leave again. So what are we looking at here? We're looking at a craft that's stationed, and it looks pretty permanently, on the top of the rocks, looking over what could have been a lake. So it fits with the description from the ancient tablets. Is this a breakthrough in disclosure? Because I believe that sooner or later we will find more from Mars that will confirm what all the ancient tablets from the Anunnaki, the history of Anunnaki, has told us for thousands of years. I think this is the closest we get to the stone tablet talking about Alalu landing on Mars and make his craft permanent, so it couldn't take off again. I think it fits pretty well. And with that, I'm off for today's live. Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember to click on like and get notifications. Click like, follow and get notifications. That's subscribe, follow, and follow us on TikTok. Follow Dolly Indigo Stars 33 on TikTok. Follow SpaceLink TV on TikTok. You'll find a lot of our content there as well, and you can still find all of our old content on YouTube. And we got a lot of new things coming out soon as well. Documentaries is coming out. Yeah. Space Junk is coming out. Baltic Sea Anomaly is about to come out also, and it will all be available on knowledgeportaltv.com. And if you can't find it, you can always find SpaceLinkTv.com and get a link from there. Thank you for watching, and until we see again, take care. Bye.